So today I'm on the launch of the new Citroen C3, and it's an all new car, and it's no longer the kind of poor relation to the DS3. The C3 was launched in 2003 and it was quite a quirky little car. That's a kind way of putting it. Some people really hated it. And then the second generation car came out in 2010, and that really was the car that whenever I saw one I thought, well, why would you get that? Why wouldn't you just get the Citroen DS3? Now, however, because DS has parted from Citroen in terms of like brand image, the new Citroen C3 is a very different car. So you can get the new C3 with a range of the usual petrol and diesel engines, but the car I've spent most time in has been the 1.2 litre petrol with 110 horsepower and 151 foot-pounds of torque. 0 to 60 takes 9.3 seconds and the top speed is 117 miles an hour. But despite this being the most powerful petrol, it's also the most economical. So the other two petrol engines that you can get both get around 60 miles to the gallon. This one gets 61. Now at some point we're bound to do a full review on it, and I'm bound to have it for a bit longer, but because we've only got a few hours with the car, this is a very short first impressions video. So one of the main things that Citroen wanted to do with this car is make it really comfortable to drive, and they have nailed it. It's kind of a classic French ride quality where it's just really smooth and soaks up bumps really well. Even on the really poor road surfaces on like B roads, it still does a really good job of just absorbing both the little bumps and some of the bigger bumps as well. The flip side of that is that in the corners there's actually quite a lot of body roll. Another thing Citroen wanted to do was to attract a much younger audience with this car, so it's aimed kind of early 20s, late teens, that kind of age group. One of the main ways of doing that is to nail the styling. Inside and out, this car is really good looking. It's still a small car, so it's still, you know, kind of plastics and leather and stuff like that, but design wise it's really different and just interesting. There are interesting details everywhere. Quirky is probably the best way to describe it. Like the air vents, they've got these little kind of silver metallic rings around them that are just different, and the dashboard's different, and like these door handles as well, they're from the Cactus, so they're kind of like pull handles rather than just the conventional like integrated part of the door. It's just a really fun design. So if they're trying to attract a younger audience, they've already done like 50% of the work by building it and designing it the way they have. Now, how does it drive? It's got loads of grip. Firstly, that's the main thing, it's got loads of grip. We've been driving on damp roads today, and in the damp and now in the dry, it has got loads of grip. However, as I said before, the comfortable ride means it rolls around quite a bit. Also, dynamically, the controls let you down. The gearbox, for example, is quite vague. It's difficult to know which gear you're going into, and it feels quite rubbery inside. The steering is better once you get up to high speed because it starts to weight up a bit more and it just feels a bit more accurate, but at lower speeds and in that kind of initial bit of travel off from the centre of the steering wheel, there's no real sense of what's actually going on. You kind of have to guess, or just turn the wheel and go for it, and then you start to get an idea of where the tyres are. The clutch as well is really light, and I suppose it's a city car, so that isn't the end of the world, but for me I'd want the steering to be a bit more accurate, and I'd want the gearbox to feel just more accurate as well. It just needs that extra precision that it's lacking at the moment. Engine performance is what it is. You need to keep it quite out of the revs to keep the power going, and the gearing is quite long as well, so from second to third you really need to rev it quite high in second to be still in the power when you're in third gear. So you can get a C3 for £10,995, and the top of the range models are about £14,500. This car is actually just over £17,500, so this one is quite expensive. Now, as I said, we'll hopefully drive it a bit more over the next few months, but my initial impression is it's really well designed. It's quirky and interesting, and I always like it when car companies try and do something different. It proves that cars aren't just things to get in and drive. It gives them a personality, and I love personality in cars. For me, I would like to see a bit more sparkle in the way it drives. That would be nice, for the steering to be a bit better, for the gearbox to be a bit better. And one thing I would really like to see as well at some point, and who knows, maybe they're doing it, but the C3 is the basis for their new World Rally car that's going to be racing in the Monte Carlo Rally in January. What I would really like to see is maybe some kind of sporty model with a slightly bigger engine, bigger tyres, bigger brakes. I think that would go down quite well.